that is 100% glass flowers. We are gonna paint a background, maybe. Okay, the board, so I pulled out this 4x12 canvas, but while I was going through my things, I also came across this board that I bought at Hobby Lobby a while back. I'm pretty sure they still have these, but I bought this at Hobby Lobby. It's just like I bought it as a joke, actually, because I brought it to the office and then told everybody if they didn't act right that they were gonna get a paddling, because it literally kind of looks like a paddle, right? It literally looks like a paddle. Hang on, I'm watching this guy who got out of his car. Oh, he went next door. Okay, so we can either do our flower on this or we can do it on a 4x12. Let me show you kind of my idea about what we're gonna do, and then y'all can tell me. Everybody's choosing board, and I figured that would be the case. So, but here's my thought, was to add some stringers, some glass stringers to our board. And I'm gonna move some of these off just so I can kind of show you. So maybe 3 glass stringers, a little bit of green at the bottom. And then I wanna show you, I'm gonna move this over real quick because I wanna show you how I organize my glass. I have these plastic bins, and this is my bin of blue, okay? And these are huge. This is like an 12 by 12 by 8 inches deep blue bin of glass. Anything broken, like a vase, there's a glass in here that was broken, and I love these. These are just little globes that you can get from glass suppliers. And if there is a glass blower in your area, when they blow this glass and it turns out how they didn't want it, that like they didn't like the way it turned out, or misshapen or whatever, they either sell it for super cheap or throw it in a bin and recycle it, give it away, whatever. So that is where a lot of this kind of stuff came from. And so this is my blue bin. I can't wait to break that. And what I did, I wanted to say one more thing. This was in my bin as well. It's just kind of like, I don't know what it was supposed to be, but it's beautiful, and I will be breaking that as well. So this that I have broken is one of those globes, like the blue one I just showed you. I literally put it in a box, then I whacked it one good time with a hammer, and then I used my nippers, wheeled nippers, or whatever glass nippers you have, and just broke it up into smaller bits, lots of different bits, okay? So what I plan to do is take our strips, form a flower out of all of this, and I have some vase that I busted into. Oh yes, Joan, you go, girl. I would love to, I'd love to do that. Go somewhere where they blow glass. So I also have some green vase that I nipped for leaves and such. All right, so that is the plan. So I think we had 1,000 votes for the board and 4 votes for the canvas. So let me show you real quick. Here's what it's gonna look like on the canvas. We are gonna paint a little bit. We're not gonna paint this, but look, this is how it's gonna show up on I'm just piling this up. This is how it's gonna show up. This is all honed and not sharp anymore. I used my honing stone, which I have apparently lost. Oh, here it is. I already honed it all so we could just keep going. Yeah, I should have whacked it with whoever that was. He went next door, so hopefully he just parked there for whatever reason. So this is what's gonna look like if we use the canvas, yada, yada. And then this is what it's gonna kind of look like on, on wood. I'm kind of thinking the wood but we're having some difficulties here. Both will look beautiful. Yeah, it's gonna pop better on the canvas, but what do you think about doing a slight wash of white on the board and then sanding it back? We got more canvases now. Both. I don't think I have enough of this glass busted for 2. Okay, y'all, I'm seeing canvas, canvas, canvas. Okay, we're gonna do the canvas then, and y'all be thinking about what fun thing we could do on this, all right? We'll do something on this next week maybe, and let's be thinking about that. What do you say? Canvas? All right. This lives another day for somebody to get whacked. Wash on the board. Y'all, I'm so torn. I'm so torn. We could do it on canvas all day long, couldn't we? Okay, here, I'm gonna make an executive decision. I'm gonna whitewash this board a little. And let me get my tool of choice. I'm gonna add some white paint to this. I'm gonna use this metal to pull the paint off and kind of give it a whitewash look. And we're gonna see what that looks like. And then if it's not enough, then we can move over to the canvas, right? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? If we just need to arrange the leaves and then just put resin on that, right? Oh, Lord have mercy. All right, so let me grab a clean plate or a semi-clean plate, one that doesn't have wet paint. And I am going to add some white to my plate. Okay, let me add a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of water. I'm going to do something crazy. A little bit of water, maybe like, I'm just going to put, I don't know, a tablespoon-ish. And I'm going to add, that's probably too much. Hang on, I want like half of that. I'm going to add some white. Yeah, I could smack them, couldn't I? Trust me, I have something else that's much more of a deterrent. Oh, hang on. We don't want that big boogery thing in there, do we? Ugh. All right, so we'll add white to that. I'll grab a brush and let's mix it up. Mary, that's funny. We'll mix it up. And so I'm creating like just a watery white, kind of like when we do spatter. Need a little bit more. Oh. All right. And here's what I'm going to do, just in case. Nah, I'm going to wait and do that after. All right. So I'm going to take my little board. I'm trying not to make too much of a mess. Oh, I'm trying to get it where you can see the whole thing too, because it's kind of long. All right. I'm going to take my board with my watery paint. You see it's kind of runny, but not really liquidy. All right. And I am going to apply really quickly the white. We'll see if it comes off or not. We'll see how it works. I'm going to try to work really fast. And I like to take a tool, like a putty knife, and pull it off like that. Look, that's going to be, hang on. Hang on, let me do it again. All right. I'm going to take the sides and just wipe that off, rub it in a little, anywhere it dripped over. And now I'm going to dry this, and we'll see if that was enough to make our flowers stand out. So, let's see. It is magical. Oh, let me wipe that bottom off. Get it dry. See if it's light enough. We can add another coat and lighten it up a little bit more because it looks like it's grabbing, the wood's grabbing it. No sanding required unless you just want to. And we may sand the edges a little. And we may sand the top if I decide to do a second coat. All right, let's try one thing. Let's try, I want to see if this shows up better. It does show up better. Should we try another coat or go with it like this? What do you think? Because you could do this as many times as you want. You think it looks good? Try another coat or move on. Try another coat or move on. Try another coat or move on. Jane says canvas. Second coat. Okay. All right, let's try another coat. And if it still isn't quite as opaque as we want it, we can move to the canvas. Hey, what do you think about that? All right, so we're gonna do it again. I'm just gonna take that white. I'm just gonna do it the same. Just add it to your board. And I'm gonna put my paper towel under here to catch the drippies. And I'm gonna start at the top and pull it off again. Oh, that had a little line in it, didn't it? All right, now let's do the edges. Just wipe it off. You can also take a little sandpaper, clean those edges up a little. All right, the end looks fine. I think we're doing it on the wood. We're gonna dry it. Oh, congrats, Sheila. I think it's gonna be better now. It was a little booger, wasn't it, Mary? I wanna make sure this is really good and dry because you know how wood is porous and it kind of grabs a hold of paint, and then you wanna make sure it's nice and dry. And then I'm gonna light sand it just to make sure so we don't have a resin reaction. Okay. Ooh, that's hot. All right, I'm just gonna take a bit of sandpaper and I'm gonna make sure my edges are nice and smooth. I'm gonna sand the bottom. It's hard to do in camera view and I don't wanna get all this dust on. And I'm gonna just a couple of times because it feels rough now because when you have wood and you apply like water to it, it raises the grain. So you wanna just lightly, see it feels fuzzy. And then when you light sand it, just really quick, couple of strokes, it's nice and smooth now. All right. Well, tell her, Connie, she is an artist in the making. She is. All right, look guys, we are ready to go now. Look at this. Let's do our little test. See how it looks. Look how pretty. This is going to work now. Look at that. Does everybody concur? All right. So I'm gonna move my glass over. I am gonna add all 3 stems, but I'm gonna need to, I think what I'm gonna do is do my flower, and then I'll add 2 more stems, and I'll break them off wherever they need to be broken, or maybe, just maybe, we'll leave them long, except I don't want this one long. It's too fat on the end. Maybe we'll leave them sticking up off the canvas, off of the board like that, right? So we'll decide that in a minute. We are gonna take our petals, and again, this was one of those glass globes. And you know, in the garden center, in the garden department at Hobby Lobby, they have great big ones like this, right? We're gonna take one of those that I already busted up, and we're just gonna form a flower. Thank you, Rebecca. We're gonna form a flower, and this is just some bits of an old floral vase. You know how you get those green floral vases when somebody gives you flowers? This was just some bits of that I busted up and cut into little nits. And you can see that they are all shapes and sizes. I did not micromanage them. I just cut them in small bits, and however it turned out is what it was gonna be, okay? The paddleboard came from Hobby Lobby. I might still have a sticker. No, I don't. We'll get that paint off though. All right, Hobby Lobby. All right, so let's just start a flower. What do you think? Is this all my blue glass? Nope, there's some over here. So I'm gonna use all of this and build a big fat flower. And it kind of makes me want to do this. Remember how I just picked it up and laid it on here earlier? And it just all formed how it needed to be. Of course, it's not gonna do that now. Wouldn't that be nice if it did? It's not gonna be pretty now. And my canvas is wider than this board is, so that's gonna be a problem. We may have to add some glue. Let's see if we can just form. You know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm thinking I may mix up some resin, lay a few pieces, put a little resin, lay a few pieces, that kind of thing. I used a knife sharpening stone. And then just work with resin and glass all at the same time. This is like not your standard way we do things, but remind me before we log off to show you something I was working on today for a friend, right? See, I think that's too perfect. And I'm not sure, because it's all piled up, I'm not sure it would get resined all the way. Oh my gosh, though, that looks good. Okay, y'all. I'm gonna do something because I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna tape off. I'm about to say, no, I'm not. I'm gonna resin the sides as well. I'm gonna tape off the back, mostly where I know that resin is gonna just bulge over, okay? I'm gonna tape off that back section right there where it's gonna be a lot of glass, and try to avoid those resin drips on the back. All right, so I'm not gonna worry about up there. I'm gonna go down. And just tape that back. I'm doing this so that if the resin drips over the side, and I'm just gonna push it over a little, when it forms drips, it'll form it on the back of the tape and not my art piece. Right? Right. And voila. Not gonna worry too much about that end either. I don't think. I may put a little bit of tape, but not much. If it forms some bubbles on the actual board, I will do a video showing you how to get them off. All right, that's all I'm gonna do. Now, let's back to our flower, right? I'm gonna grab this too, because this is what I'm gonna sit it on after we're done, and I need to elevate. I'm gonna sit it on that to cure. All right, now back to our project. I'm gonna mix resin, right? I'm gonna mix up 1 ounce of resin in my cup. I'm gonna mark it at 1/2 ounce and 1/2 ounce. So it's best if you're doing something like this project that we're doing right now, and it's best to kind of get, that's right, Denise. It's best to kind of get in your head what you want to do before you start using your resin. This will last for 30 to 40 minutes. Thank you, Catherine. This will stay usable for 30 or 40 minutes, so I'm not too terribly worried about it getting too sticky. But just so you're clear, once we get that mixed, I'm gonna start with a pile of flowers, just adding a little bit of resin at a time to make sure that's all covered. I think I'll use those as my outside edges. Then we're gonna add some petals. But before we do, I think I'm also gonna decide about this. So I'm thinking I may leave that, look how long it is. I may leave that super long, and I may overlap, and I think I broke this one off. Look, we're gonna leave that just like that. We'll add just a little bit of green glass at the bottom just to give it some place to sit. And I love, can you see that glass all the way up? Yeah. All right, so that is the plan. So let's mix up resin and get this ball rolling. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep this softball rolling. All right, so loves. Since when did I ever do a live where before I did the artwork, I mixed resin first? Ever? Ever? Thank you for the sprinkles, guys. Thank you so much. Tapping out? Not really. All right, so I am using art resin. I use art resin exclusively. It is a 2-part epoxy. It is made in the USA, and it was created just for art pieces. 2 parts, resin and hardener, and they are mixed in ounces. These have to be measured, okay? You cannot weigh this. The hardener is heavier than the resin. If you try to weigh this, you're gonna have a mess because it doesn't work that way. It has to be measured, all right? So, art resin. I'm gonna use my hardener first, and I am gonna squish out, and Julie, I'm gonna squish out 1/2 ounce of hardener out of my little ketchup bottle. And then I'm gonna squish out 1/2 ounce of resin to make 1 total ounce of resin. Okay, 1 ounce total. 1/2 ounce hardener, 1/2 ounce resin. All right, I'm gonna scooch this over. And we're gonna stir this for 3 minutes. Catherine is timing me. She will let me know, even if she has to holler at me, and if I'm not paying attention, and let me know when the 3 minutes is up, so I can now answer any questions you might have about vitrigraph, about this board, about the shattered circle, about the bonuses, about anything that you have a question about. So you got 3 minutes of my undivided, undistracted attention, and go. I'm stirring, I'm scraping the sides, scraping the bottom. I think, Kim, once they're opened, I think it's 6 months, but if they're unopened, oh, you mean in these bottles? Probably 6 months in those bottles. I don't keep it long enough to know for sure, but I feel like it is the same as if it was in its normal bottle, right? No, I'm not gonna seal this. I put 2 coats of paint. It was kind of pre-sealed anyway from this board from Hobby Lobby, so I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna just see what happens. Hobby Lobby, Jeannie. Hobby Lobby. So I'm gonna scrape, scrape, scrape. Scrape the sides, gently stir. Don't beat it. Beat it. And we painted this, Barbara. It wasn't white. I've had my art resin for over a year. Yeah, it's still good, isn't it, Catherine? I would say if you are using it a lot, like me, you can probably buy it in the gallons. If you are using less, you should probably buy smaller quantities. And I would like to tell you that we do have a limited supply of art resin available on our website. We are trying to get in all the things that one might need to create art resin or resin art and be a one-stop shop, and we're just doing it one little baby step at a time. But we do have resin, and if you are a member of the Shattered Circle, you can use your discount code for resin. Yay. That is so depressing, Cheryl. Catherine said, stop. 3 minutes already? It starts to turn yellow, Mary, but you can still use it. I'm going to stir just 1 more second. You can still use it, just don't use it on anything light colored. Okay, scrape, 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 scrape. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I am literally going to just drizzle a little bit of resin on this top section here where I know I am... Gosh, I don't know. Sherry, I don't know what the temperature is of the one I use. It just says high-low. So I don't know what to tell you about that. That seems high. That seems very high. So I don't know. Go to the Amazon and look at the Seek 1 and see if it shows you what temperature it is. You know, like the minimum and maximum, and gauge it like that. All right, I'm just brushing on a light coat of resin right in that general area where I want to put my flower petals. All right, just use your fingers with gloves on. Just use your fingers to do that. And now I'm just gonna take some of these petals again, and I'm gonna just start adding them. We're gonna create just a layered little piece of a flower. And we're just gonna use, we may not use every smidgy bit of this. I'm gonna actually do this. I'm gonna add a little bit of resin on top of there, kinda serving as glue. And we will add another petal. And we'll add another petal. And this little boogery thing. I'm just drizzling a few drops just to, this is kind of a fat chunk. Just drizzling a few drops just to keep it from wiggling as I am applying the glass. I need to pull this down. All right, so now let's do a few little drops. And we'll put one there. And I'm just gonna put some on the back of this. A few little drops. I probably mixed up way too much resin. We'll probably be able to do 10 flowers with this resin that I mixed. It is excessive, big time. Probably could have used a 1/4 ounce. So anyway, I'm gonna go like right here. And then I have these last 2 larger pieces. Actually, it still wants to wiggle around. That's all right. I'm gonna drizzle, drizzle, drizzle. Then I'm gonna take these last two petals. Yes, I was kind of mixing it up. Some was curved up, some was curved down. No rhyme or reason really, just doing whatever felt natural. All right, so now let's get some on this one. Oh gosh, yeah. Holy moly, that's high. So now, I'm gonna pull that back out and put it there. I like that. Don't hate it. It's kind of all blown, but that's okay. And I might add some seed beads down in there. There's a little bit of a gapper in a couple places, but we'll figure that out in a minute. All right, so my main stem is the short one here. Get where you're supposed to be. So I'm just gonna take, since I have resin mixed already, I'm just gonna take a little bit of that resin and cover that whole thing. Just being very messy today. Just get it all covered. And I'm gonna stick it in and lay it. Actually, I'm gonna drizzle a little resin down here on my board. We'll get us a little back coat. Doing this completely backwards than anything we've done before. But sometimes it calls for something different, right? All right, so let's get that in there. Get that where we want it. I'm gonna squish that up some. This is starting to bug me a little. All right, there. All right, got a little drippage. Now I'm gonna just take and just add a little more resin to that main stem. Get up in there. All right, now I have petals. So let's go ahead and add those. I'm gonna grab one. These are already honed. So I'm just gonna grab one, put a little dot of resin, and I'm gonna put that right up next to the flower. These two small ones. Little dot of resin. We'll put it right up next to the flower as well. Those are the little flowery things, what do you call? I always lose myself there. Now I'm just gonna grab a couple petals and add those. So I'll put this one here. And let's get another one. And we'll put that here. And I think we can do another one. Just a little dab will do ya. I made them, I cut them out of a vase. These petals came from a vase. I think one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I'm gonna leave that for now because I can't stand it. All right, this is the great big long one that we were going to leave. I'm gonna tilt this a little. That we were gonna leave long. So what I'm gonna do is take a little resin on my hands and I am gonna just cover this with resin. I'm making a mess on my table, so if you do this, make sure your table is protected because there is resin all over this glass. All right, so I'm gonna add this to my project. We'll just let it rest right on top of the flower. Oops, we'll overlap that petal. And voila, we'll do this one too. Just add a little bit of resin to your hands and rub it up and down. The resin will help. Let me just do this. Resin will help with the strength of the vitrigraph. And we're gonna add this one to that side. It can be sticking up, just like that. Oh my gosh, y'all. This is so stinking cute. Okay, I need this to go back up where it belongs. And this to come down a little bit and grab. I hate to touch this with my hands. I'm gonna wait. I was gonna touch my bead tool, but I don't think I can do that yet because my hands are so sticky. This is so cute. I cannot wait to show it too close up. I'm gonna have to take these off even if I have to get more because these are covered in resin, and I'm gonna do a tiny bit of cleanup just with a paper towel, just so I don't get my hands in something. And I didn't even use a 1/2 ounce, okay? I could have done 1/4 ounce for this project and it would have been fine. We are gonna add a little more, but we're not gonna add 1 ounce more, so that's a problem. Okay, green glass. I'm just gonna get the tiniest handful. I don't want a lot. I'm gonna get a little bit and we'll add it down here at the bottom. Just a few little nugs. You don't even have to do this, really. If you wanted your flower to just be floating, that would be 100% fine. I'm gonna bring it up a little into my flower. This stem on the left is floating a little bit. It's raised off the surface right there. So I'm gonna tuck a little bit of glass under there to kind of stabilize it. A little bit of glass here, a little bit of glass here. Just a few little nuggies here and there. I'll throw one up there and we'll put one right there. And I think I want 2 more little bitty nuggies. Maybe a little nug, and a little nug. All right, just being a little crazy. Okay, now I'm gonna have to get some, actually, let me grab some seed beads. I was not prepared for seed bead lands. For whatever reason, I spent the day today cleaning up and straightening up my seed bead situation. But let me grab some seed beads for the flower and maybe for the bottom too. Ill prepared. That bucket was way too full. And the yellow box has way too much stuff in it. The top won't fit. All right, so I have a huge container of blue seed beads, but first I'm just gonna add a little bit of this green, and then we will decide on seed beads for the flower. I'm gonna turn it so I can kind of get a good eyeball on it. Yeah, something kind of blurple. Do y'all know what blurple is? What color blurple is? Let's see. Nope, I don't like that. Ooh, I almost slung that all over the place. That's too greeny, maybe. Too bluey. Okay, y'all. Oh, maybe it's this. That's the ticket. It's got all the colors. This is amethyst. We're gonna use amethyst and just sprinkle some on our flower. So I'm gonna leave this kind of right here. I'm gonna open up the amethyst. That's green. This came from Hobby Lobby as well. It's called Check Glass Seed Beads in the color amethyst. And I'm literally going to just sprinkle it because it has a few little gappers. And I just want to kind of fill it in. It gives it a little dewy look too. All right, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna get a few in my little hands. And hit the top. All right, amethyst. Now, I'm gonna push it up a little. I'm gonna get my bead tool. You can use a toothpick, and I'm gonna adjust my little leaves that I put on because they shifted. Hold just those. Want the bottom to touch and the top to not. All right, do what I tell you now. This one's fine, that one's good, that one's good. All right, green. Tony, did you see me? Did you see me do that? I plead the fifth. This is called TR green, all right? So I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna sprinkle, oh, wait a minute. I need to add some resin down here. Where are my gloves, where are my gloves? I'm gonna add some resin down here to the bottom to cover my little green glass, and then we'll sprinkle in a little bit of the little green things too. I did use my teeth, and I never do that because I am I'm like, my teeth are my thing. I like brush my teeth 10 times a day. I'm very careful. I go to the dentist a lot just because I like to know my teeth are good. And, but I did do that. It was not glued. I just couldn't get it to twist, so I did. I'm guilty. Guilty as charged. Let's get these on. I'm gonna take my resin and I'm gonna drizzle right on top of these little glass bits. I'm gonna hit my leaves again. I don't think I hit them at all except with my fingers. So we'll cover the tops. Get off there. And we'll hit the crushed glass at the bottom. They may be having a party next door. That car's still here, and I hear people talking. They throwing down. Let's cover your glass bits. And see, this is why I had so much resin. I was like, oh my gosh, why do I have so much? It's because I hadn't resined anything. I hadn't done my job yet, right? All right, now what I can do is take my little green and sprinkle, 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 just a few of these seed beads in the green area. I'll bring a few up towards the petals. Not too many, just a few drops here and there. Don't go crazy. Don't dump the whole thing. It can happen. Very lightly, very lightly. All right, we'll put that back on. So 2 different colors, seed beads, vitrigraph, green vase, and a blue globe. And I'm going to just drizzle a little more. This was the perfect amount. I'm gonna drizzle a little more. It's gonna run off that board there. So I'm gonna go ahead real quick and put that on my riser. Let me make sure you guys can still see it. I need to turn it a little sideways. There we go. Because it's gonna run off that side. And I'm gonna use the rest of this to just go over my petals again. I'm just gonna let it drip because it's gonna run and hit that tape, so it's no big deal. All right, that's it. I did good. I was thinking, wow, I made so much. That was perfect. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, because my hands are still got a little bit of resin on them, I'm gonna turn it this way real quick and make sure the top, any little bit that's left, I'm just gonna dot in, and I'm just gonna use my finger, and I'm gonna do the top surface, and then once my fingers are like covered with resin really well, then I'm gonna take them and run around the sides. All right, so like so. So I have resin on my fingers. I'm gonna get a little bit more like this. Resin, see? Resin. And I am going to just run around the edge to get that very thin coat of resin on. Let me hold it here on that edge. All right, and voila. Let's hit this with our heat gun and see what we have here. All right, let's take these back off. Yay! All right, throw that away. I'm gonna get resin on my hands, picking that booger up, aren't I? I'm gonna clean that up a little. I'm gonna get my heat gun. We're gonna hit this with a little heat. I'm gonna put it on low so it does not move. Pop any bubbles. That's all right. It won't stick to the glass anyway. So we're just popping those bubbles. Pop, 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 pop. Voila. And check it out. I cannot wait to show you this up close. Give me 1 second to get my act together. I'm gonna go ahead and get me a little wipey out because I know I'm about to get resin on my hands. So we'll get prepared for that. And I'm gonna show you this up close and personal. All right, I'm gonna try to do it like this. So this is the top of the paddle with our flower. See how our little vitrigraph is sticking way off? And then here's this bottom. That is so cute. I would say that is about a 3-inch wide. I don't think I have a tape measure here, but let me look real quick. But I'm gonna guesstimate 3 inches wide, and it is more than 12 inches. It is probably in total 12, 16 inches. And this is a 4x4. So I'm gonna say it's 3 inches by 16-ish. If you got one wider, you would just have more space and you could do a bigger flower or multiple flowers or something along those lines. I'm gonna turn it, I'm gonna clean this up a little, get the resin off my glass. I love this glass top though, because if the resin drips and I don't clean it up, I can just scrape it off with a blade tomorrow. All right, so I'm gonna turn this so that you can see the whole thing a little. Yeah, look at that. And that was literally a few tidbits of a vase that I've been using in my art for probably a year, and a few tidbits of a globe, a tiny handful of green glass, and some vitrigraph.